Hi, my name is Beth. I am co founder and CEO of Three More. I'm excited to walk you through part two of what you get from Three More out of the box. So, our first video, we walked through everything that's in our risk dashboard. I like to think of the risk dashboard as really like the switchboard of how to get started in terms of next steps. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on the very first line, which is critical. And we're going to see that there's a number of things here where we have 50 vulnerabilities that are at least critical or high, where it's got a whole lot of dependencies, which means it's going to be a little gnarly once we get in there. We already have code owners assessed in some way, shape, or form, and we have CI/CD set up. We don't have tests, and we don't have artifacts. So taking a look at that, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the artifacts piece. And so I'm going to go directly to the pull request. So when we talk about Three More as being Dependabot for your entire stack, what we mean is we are creating pull requests that will include recommendations and references. So for some of these, you will be able to hit the ground running and just accept the pull request that we had. So think of that in terms of if there's code owners, you might want to do a quick perusal and just check that out. For some of them, what we're doing is we're going to have multiple steps. And not multiple steps in terms of like, oh God, you just made our lives even worse, but more, we're going to have pull requests. And then with that, we're going to have recommendations. And the recommendations are based on the shape of your company. So based on everything that we were able to pull for that dependency graph. And if you don't know what a dependency graph is, I like to think of it as really it is the connectivity between everything from your code, your artifacts, your infrastructure, the people, how all of it is connected and related. So you pull on one thread and what is going to move when that happens. So we're taking all of that into consideration and we're going to provide you, we are recommending, looking at the artifact for inventory tracker, we are going to recommend that you implement an artifact tracking framework. Now, one of the things that we would do is if the code base is based on GitHub, we're going to automatically assume that you should use our artifact repository based on GitHub. If you're using GitLab, we would use GitLab. We didn't identify any third-party tooling because we also didn't identify any artifacts. So the assumption is that you want to stick within the code that you're within the tools that you're already using. So with that, we would have recommendations where it's like, we see that you are using GitHub. Here's the best practices in terms of how to set things up. Here's the background for the code that we have in our pull request. If you would like to use something else, that's cool. Don't accept this, and we can help you either work through how to set up Artifactory or a different tool, or you can go through and do that, and we'll just automatically capture that, and it will be great for the next time. We will update the score for the inventory tracker. Now, the references, that is going to be any outside documentation. So here you might have some references in terms of why you want to have artifact tracking. It's basically going to provide outside of the data that we were able to pull of that dependency graph or that shape, that connectivity of your code base. And it's going to say, here are just some best practices. Here's some third-party references if you would like to review. I like to think of it as a check and balance because what we're doing is we are decluttering and de-risking your code base. And we want to make sure that as we're doing that, we're making it so much easier for you to take all of these things, this backlog of work that you probably already know that you have to do this, but it takes a human weeks to sit down and create that archaeological dig document where you want to understand how everything is connected. You need to create some of those best practices and guardrails. You need to go through and do that. So we're not taking away the importance of doing that. Instead, we're saying we see within the bounds of what we've captured that here's some of those best practices, and we're going to get you started so you don't have to. And that is taking care of one problem from the risk dashboard and identifying how we will automate it. And this is everything that you get out of the box with 3 More. Now, I would love any of your feedback, your thoughts, and recommendations, whether it's visually, wow, that's awfully busy, or if it's tell me more, or I hate it, or even something like, well, whatever it could be, actually. So I would love to know how we can make this a better, smoother process for you, because the goal is to make things more streamlined for you and to reduce the lift and the pain that teams have in terms of having to do those archaeological digs. That's all for now. Until next time, thank you.